Okay, today for the fun of it, we're going to talk a little bit about Walking Tall, the movie series, the franchise, if you will. And there's a lot of fictional scenes in those movies, and we all know it. But I thought for fun, we'd take a look at one of those scenes that is based on what is said to be a true story. It's about O.Q. Teal. Now, if you'll remember, Buford and Grady were the moonshine still. That is when they saw OQ abusing his son, taking a switch to him. Kind of made Buford mad. So he gets in his car, drives down there, tackles OQ, and takes him back up to the car. He checks Robbie's back, sees where he's been beaten before several times, and he decides to take a switch to OQ, give him a dose of his own medicine. Let's take a look.
I'll take OQ.
Buford and Grady watch as O.Q. Teal beats his son Robbie. When Buford gets down to the site, he checks Robbie's back and sees signs of previous abuse. O.Q. looks on as if he's trying to decide what's going through Pusser's mind. He knows he's in big trouble. He just doesn't know how much. Teal tries to intimidate his son Robbie. It doesn't faze Buford. He knows what he's going to do. Buford strips a branch of all of its leaves. Teal knows what's going to happen. He thinks it's not manly to be whipped like a child.
This ain't manly. Watch up.
Robbie looks on as Buford takes a switch to Teal's backside. The sounds of the radio drowned out Teal's cries. Yeah, I think you'll agree that Walking Tall was an inspiring movie. Everybody wanted to be more like Buford. Now, in that scene, it seems like Buford took the law into his own hands, but we have to remember times were different back then. They did not have all the rules and regulations that peace officers have to follow today. So, you have to take that into consideration. Did Buford go too far? Possibly. For that era, maybe not. Each one of us are going to have to decide for ourselves whether he crossed a line there. But regardless, we need to understand that that was fictional. Now, as far as the real story goes, the man that took the whipping was actually John Grant. His nickname was Flagpole. He worked at a local garage. He wasn't a moonshiner. So things weren't exactly like they showed in the movie. They had to dramatize all that to keep you engaged in the movie itself. Now, the story goes that Grant's wife called the sheriff's office and let him know that John was drunk again. He was abusing the kids, abusing her. He had done things in the past like taking the kids' school books, put them in the oven, trying to burn them. It was a continuing thing from what I understand. So Buford goes to the Grant's residence, and when he gets there, Mrs. Grant tells him, well, he's down in the barn, but you don't want to go down there. He's got a gun and he might kill you. Well, Buford goes down. On the way, he gets him a hickory stick, allegedly about the size of your thumb. So he gets Grant, takes the stick to him, or the switch to him, and at the end of it, he tells him, today I whipped you like you were a little kid. If I have to come back out here next time, I'm going to do it like you're a grown man. And the story is that he never had to go back out. So here again, was the story true? I tend to believe it probably was, that he did go to Grant's house and do this. Was it wrong? Again, times were different back then. You had to take into consideration what the standards were. It's all a matter of perception, I guess. So, like I say, each one of us are going to have to decide for ourselves if it was right or wrong. Apparently, it did take care of the problem. Now, this wasn't the only movie scene that was fictional by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it started off being a fictional movie with Buford coming home, having given up wrestling, all this, going to the plantation club, getting beaten, cut up, robbed, left for dead. There was a lot of fallacies in the movie, and I think it'd be interesting if in the future we talk about some of those. You know, again, I have nothing against the movie Walking Tall. It is one of my all-time favorites. I categorize movies in a way. For instance, as far as law enforcement shows, Walking Tall and the Lethal Weapon series are right up there for me, along with the Die Hard series. Hey, what can I tell you? Then I also look at science fiction. I got hooked on the original Star Wars movies, so there you have that. It's hard to say what my favorite movie is. That's the reason I break them down into genres and classifications. But at any rate, in the future, we're going to be taking a look at Walking Tall, looking at some of these scenes, seeing what was right, what was wrong, and of course, some of it's always going to be questionable. We may never know what's really true and what's really not. The legends have been out there so long, but it's not about trying to judge. It's just about uh, discussion and setting the environment into a real learning process about all these things. So until next Saturday, when we put out another one of these little snippets, just remember, the truth has no agenda.